There's nobody better to ask than the chief meteorologist there at Fox 6, Tom Walks. He's going to be joining us here for a severe night tonight. But Tom, it's not just about a one-day event. Good Friday looks active all the way through Easter Sunday. Walk us through what that conversation's been like for you and the viewers throughout the latter half of the week here.
Hey there, Steve. Great to be with you tonight. Yeah, very active weather pattern, that's for sure. We will be watching the overnight hours around here in southern Wisconsin, but I really think it's going to be tomorrow afternoon and evening. Really interesting from a science standpoint because we're going to get pretty warm around here, warm by Wisconsin standards, in the 70s for highs tomorrow afternoon. But here's the deal. If you go above us, there's going to be a narrow, warm layer of air. And we call that a capping inversion in meteorology, where basically imagine boiling a pot of water on your stove and it steams up, right? You put the lid on the pan to prevent the steam from rising. That's like a cap in the atmosphere. That's going to happen here in the Milwaukee area tomorrow afternoon. There's going to be a lot of energy in the atmosphere for storms, but this cap, or the lid on the pan, so to speak, is going to keep storms from forming. So the question is, will that cap burst? Will the air be able to burst through that warmer layer of air above us? I think it will, and that will happen late in the afternoon and into the evening as this cold front comes through. And then what happens with that is those thunderstorms are able to realize all of that atmospheric energy, and that's our concern for severe weather, with large hail and damaging winds being the main threat. So while we do have some storms in the forecast overnight tonight, I think the bigger concern will be if these storms can form tomorrow afternoon and evening, Steve.
Hey, and Tom, I'm told you guys have experience in North Platte, so I got to ask you what's going on right now in eastern Nebraska through Thursday evening. We saw exactly what you were talking about. The cap was in place for most of the afternoon. As we entered through the evening, though, that was lifted, and the explosion that we are seeing right now outside of Omaha and through the evening time, is that what you're worried about in Wisconsin? What's your insight for the Midwest throughout this event?
Yeah, it's a great question. I started out my career in North Platte, Nebraska, very familiar with kind of the layout and Nebraska weather there. And as you mentioned, what's happened in parts of Nebraska tonight with that explosive development, I mean, that's a true sign of the cap breaking. And I mean, it can literally happen in a matter of 30 seconds to a minute. It's really fascinating. If you ever are storm chasing and you see that happen in front of you, is truly incredible from a science standpoint. The issue, of course, is, like we've been dealing with tonight on the plains, is that these storms now have the entire atmosphere to work with, and you can get monster hail, you can get tornadoes and damaging winds. I don't think it's going to be quite as severe here in the southern part of Wisconsin, at least in terms of the tornado standpoint, but I do think we could have some wind and could have some hail for sure. But yeah, this is one of those classic capping inversion setups, Steve, that, you know, if it goes, and it's often a big if, right? Like, will it happen? Yeah. Will it not? Well, if it does, like they're seeing in Nebraska, you know it, right, when it happens.
Yeah, every report, I wanted to show that from just outside of Omaha. I mean, they had baseball-sized hail reports, they had 81-mile-per-hour winds, and then brief tornadoes. So every threat being verified there, and the concerns are, like you had said, for most of the day, people are wondering, has this been a dud? There hasn't been much activity, but it just shows you that latent heat waiting to be tapped into, and when it does, there's nothing slowing these down. Tom, I want to ask you about Saturday and then Easter Sunday, of course. For your area of Milwaukee, does it seem like there's been improving conditions there?
Overall, yes, it's going to be a bit cooler. Temperatures in the 50s, even 40s. We're right along Lake Michigan here in Milwaukee, so it'll be in the 40s near Lake Michigan. So a few rain showers later in the day on Easter Sunday, but could certainly be worse around here. So, but it will cool down a bit as we head into the weekend. So we'll get this severe weather threat out of the way on Friday night. But, I mean, you just talk about an interesting weather pattern here. And this is classic April in Milwaukee, where we can go 60s and 70s on Friday, and then we start to drop back into the 40s as we head towards Easter Sunday. It's a big roller coaster ride around here, Steve.
Yeah, Tom, that's why it's so important to stay in tune with the forecast, because you may plan for one type of weather pattern right during the work week, and then you get to the weekend, you're like, what is this? Well, how did this all unfold? It's that crazy roller coaster ride that we see during the April month. Hey, Fox 6 Milwaukee meteorologist and chief meteorologist Tom, it's good to see you tonight here in Fox Weather, and we'll continue to talk with you in the days ahead.
All right, you too. Thanks for your coverage.